for this. So today's lesson, just like before we learned how to multiply with exponents and then we did scientific notation with multiplication. Now we've done dividing with exponents. Now we're going to do dividing with scientific notation. So we'll be dividing numbers in scientific notation, solving real-world problems, dividing by numbers in standard form. There's a lot on this lesson. Ordering numbers in scientific notation and comparing numbers in scientific notation. Okay, when you divide numbers in scientific notation, you use the same rules that you use for dividing powers with the same base. So when you're looking at this part of each number, the factor of 10 to the 6th and 10 to the 2nd, if you're doing 10 to the 6th divided by 10 to the 2nd, you have 10 to what power? 10 to the 4th. So that part's really easy, actually. So you know whatever your answer is going to be times 10 to the 4th. The tricky part will be you're not allowed to use a calculator, and you have to do 6.5 divided by 7.3. So you're probably going to have to write it out. And remember your rules for dividing with decimals. We don't want any decimals in this number, so we have to move this decimal over 1. And when we do that, we move this decimal over 1. That's like multiplying both numbers by 10, and if we do it to both numbers, we still get the same answer. So 73 cannot go into 65, so it goes in 0 times. And we can add a decimal, add a 0. 73 goes into 650 8 times, and that's 584. So we end up with 6. Wait a second. No, that's 6, I'm sorry. 660 goes into 669 times, minus 657. Gives us a remainder of 3, and then that's as far as I'm going to go. And if we bring down a 0, it can't go into it anymore, so it rounds to a 0. So we have 0.89 times 10 to the 4th. Now that answer is not in standard scientific notation. What do we need to do to bring it there? Irene?
You need to move the decimal between the 8 and the 9 and take the 10 to the 4th and make it 10 to the 5th.
Careful. If I'm moving this to the right, I'm making this number bigger, so I need to make this number smaller. So I move this down. So we have 8.9 times 10 to the 3rd. So you do your division of the decimals, you do your subtraction of the exponents, and then you have to remember to adjust at the end. If this were a test and you said it was 0.89 times 10 to the 4th, you would lose half credit for that. I would give you some credit for having done everything correctly, but in order to get full credit, you do have to take it all the way to standard scientific notation. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to let you guys go with this and try some of these, and then we will connect back together. You're probably going to use up a lot of space. If you look at my notes, I did this all by hand, just like I'm asking you to do. There's a lot of stuff written in my margins. So make sure you're writing it out, no sneaking any calculator use in here, and we'll go over this in a few minutes. Actually, turn this on. So 3.4 rounded to the nearest tenth is correct. Did anyone round it to the nearest hundred? Grace?
3.43.
Yeah, it's 3.43 times what?
10 to the 2nd.
Good. Times 10 to the 2nd. How many of you got that? Okay. The most common mistake I was seeing as I was walking around is some of you were dividing upside down. If the 7.9 is on top, it's 7.9 divided by 2.3, which means you're doing it like this. And a couple of you had it mixed up and you put the 2.3 in the box and you got something like 0.2 something when you did that. Jake?
Whenever we go over, like, to make the number, if it's 0.05 or 0.51 or something, whenever we move it over to make it 5.1, do we make that 10 to the, like, 10 to the 3rd to the 4th, or 10?
It depends which way we're going. If we're moving, say we have a number like 0.05 1 times 10 to the 8th. If we have to move it 2 digits to the right, we're essentially making this number 2 times 10 bigger, right? So this one has to go 2 times smaller. So this would be 5.1 times 10 to the 6th. If we move the decimal to the left, then this number has to get bigger. Okay? I'm going to take that off so that doesn't look confusing when I upload the notes. Okay, letter B. McKenna.
I got 1.6 times 10 to the negative
Times 10 to what? Negative second. Yes, that's correct. Anybody get it to the nearest hundredth? Adria?
1.63.
You got 1.63.
I got 1.06.
Jake, what did you get?
I got 1.62.
Yeah, I have 1.62. Let me see if I can find my work on this one. I was going to look to tell you what it rounds to, but I don't have that on there. So it should be 1.62 times 10 to the negative 2. Yes?
Can you show me how you got that? 'Cause I didn't get that.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of people got mixed up with the decimal on this one. So we're doing 4.8 divided by 2.95. So we have to move our decimal over 2 places here, which means we have to move it over 2 places here, which means we have to add a 0 before we even put the decimal place. Is that what you did? Do you need me to go through the whole thing, or are we okay? Okay, that was the most common mistake that I saw on this one. For letter C, I'm going to take a volunteer because I know not all of you got to letter C. Violet.
I have 7.11 times 10 to the
Good. 7.11 times 10 to the 4th. The answer that you actually get is 0.711 times 10 to the 5th. When we move our decimal to the right 1, we have to move our exponent or change our exponent down 1.
So are we not supposed to round for these then?
Well, when you guys asked at the beginning, I said to round to the nearest hundredth in your answer. So that means that your answer should be rounded to the nearest hundredth. So we can correct that. Okay, so this number we were just talking about with the recording off, this number would actually, the next digit would be a 5. So we do actually need to take this up to 7.12. So when you're rounding, you want to go one digit past the number that you're rounding to, so that you can see whether you should keep it the same or round up. All right, objective 2. Apply division with scientific notation to real world problems. So our first application, in fact both of them, deal with astronomy, because often with astronomy you're talking about very, very large distances that you can't record easily using standard notation. The other times when we might use scientific notation are when we're talking about really, really small things. So if you go inside the body and you're measuring things like cells or atoms and distances between things, sometimes those numbers you'll have scientific notation with negative numbers. All right, so our application here says the distance between the sun and a comet is about 2.79 times 10 to the 8th miles. Light travels about 1.1 times 10 to the 7th miles per minute. Use the formula time equals distance divided by speed to estimate how many minutes sunlight takes to reach the comet. Write your answer in standard form and round to the nearest 10th. So here they're not asking you to write your answer in scientific notation, they're asking you to write it in standard form. So you're going to do your work using scientific notation, because trust me, that is easier than converting them to standard form and having all those zeros when you're trying to divide. And then at the end, you'll convert it to standard form. So if the formula is distance divided by speed, we know that the distance is 2.79 times 10 to the 8th miles. Let's use t for time. So t equals the distance divided by the speed, which is 1.1 times 10 to the 7th miles per minute. So we're going to do 2.79 divided by 1.1. And I'm just going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to do all the long division up here. You get 2.536, which I'm going to round to 2.54. times 10 to what power? 10 to the first power. So if I write that in standard form, what would I say? Ailey? When we put it in standard form, we want it to be rounded to the nearest 10. So we will. We'll get there. So if we put it in standard form, what do we have? Irene?
25.4.
Yeah. 25.4. What's your units?
Minutes.
Minutes, good. And so you can see the answer is rounded to the nearest 10. So it says write your answer in standard form and round to the nearest 10. So if I had left this as 2.543, then I would have had 25.43, and at that point I would have chopped it off and rounded it to the nearest 10. Okay, I want you to try the next one. It's not so bad because you're dividing by 1.1, which is 11, and 11 backs. You don't have to write down in your margin. So give that one a try. I'll just give you a minute to do that, and then we'll check on the answer. Done. Volunteer. Elena.
So first I did D equals 9.3 times 10 to the 7th divided by 1.1 times 10 to the 7th.
Okay, good.
And I got 8.45
Okay, 8.45.
times 10 to the 0.
Good. So what would that be in standard form rounded to the nearest 10? I forgot that part, huh? You did a good job on the hard part.
84.5.
No? What does 10 to the 0 power mean? 1.
Oh, so just 8.45.
Yeah, it's just 8 point, not even 8.45 because we want to round to the nearest 10. So we want 8.5. So 8.5 minutes. Okay, any questions about that? Okay. Objective 3, because it was, the speed was in miles per minute. Okay, objective 3 is dividing by numbers in standard form. So if you have scientific notation and you're dividing by a number in standard form, this is just like when we multiplied. We're going to divide these two numbers and we're just going to keep the 10 to the third. Because 6.3 we could actually say is 6.3 times 10 to the 0. It's 6.3 times 1. So we could write it in scientific notation, but we don't need to because 3 minus 0 is just 3. So we can think of it as just keeping this 10 to the third. So if we do negative 7.1 divided by 6.3, we get negative 1.12, and then we just keep our 10 to the third. For letter B, when we do 4.2 divided by 5.5, we get 0.763. We keep our, I'm sorry, it would become, since we're, wait, let me go back on this one, I'm going too fast. This one, since we are taking a number in standard form, we're dividing by a number in scientific notation, we're actually subtracting this exponent. So this is like 4.2 times 10 to the 0 divided by 5.5 times 10 to the 9th. So we're doing 0 minus 9. So this becomes 10 to the negative 9th. Yes, then we have to move it. So then we have to move our decimal to the right 1, which means that this has to go down 1. So we have 7.63. Negative 1 minus 1, or negative 9 minus 1 is negative 10. So times 10 to the negative 10th. Okay, I am going to have you do only 2 of these because this is just, I know this is tedious. I want you to do B because that's taking scientific notation divided by a number in standard form. And I want you to do C, which is a number in standard form divided by scientific notation. Okay, and then we'll talk about those. Okay, letter B. Ailey, what did you get as an answer?
I got negative 7 times 10 to the second power.
Good. Negative 7 times 10 to the second. That was a nice easy one because you got to divide by 5. Okay, part C, volunteer. Anybody who's not afraid to be wrong? Grace?
1.214 times 10 to the negative 7.
Good. And we actually said if you rounded to the nearest hundredth, you would have 1.21, which is fine, but I did an extra digit since Grace has it. Jake?
For B, wouldn't it be just 3 still?
No, because the answer that you get is negative 0.7 times 10 to the third. And so then when we move it over, we have to change that.
The negative 7th power, so you know what we
Okay, because this 17, we can rewrite it as 17 times 10 to the 0 power. When we divide in scientific notation, we're subtracting exponents. 0 minus 8 is negative 8. So the answer that we get is 12.14 times 10 to the negative 8. And then when we move it, yeah. Good, awesome. Okay, I think we're not going to do the 5th objective, but we are going to do the 4th. When you put numbers in order in scientific notation, first you put them in order just looking at the size of the exponents. And then if you have exponents that are the same, then you have to order using the first factor, that number that's not the 10. So if we were ordering this from least to greatest, obviously a number with a negative exponent is going to be the smallest. So we would put 6.2 times 10 to the negative 4th first. Then something times 10 to the 3rd is going to be, it's like multiplying it times 1,000, so that would be next. We'd have 6.5 times 10 to the 3rd. Then we have two choices where it's times 10 to the 4th. So then we look at the first factor. 6.2 is smaller than 7.5, so 6.2 times 10 to the 4th is going to be smaller than 7.5 times 10 to the 4th. Okay, so that was kind of quick. Is everyone clear on what I did? Let's recap. First, you look at the exponents. You put them in order by exponents. If any have the same exponent, then you have to look at the actual first factor. Let's just do these together, I think. Zoe, what would be the smallest number on the list for A? Which one has the smallest exponent? Good. 3 times 10 to the negative 6. Irene, which one would go next?
3.8 times 10 to the negative 5th.
Good. And Sky, which one would go next?
3.11 times 10 to the 5th.
Good. And then, of course, the last one would be 3 times 10 to the 6. So in this case, we didn't even have to look at the first factor. All we had to look at was the exponents. Letter B. Elena, which one would go first?
1.7 times 10 to the negative 2.
1.7 times, yes, 1.7 times 10 to the negative 2. I had to think about that a minute. I got mixed up with my thinking about negative numbers, but these aren't negative. They're small, positive numbers. So 0.017 is going to be smaller than 0.018. So it's 1.8 times 10 to the negative 2. And then, Violet, which one will go next?
1.5 times 10 to the 3rd.
Good. 1.5 times 10 to the 3rd, and then 1.5 times 10 to the 4th. Okay, I am not going to have you do the exit ticket on this since this pretty much took us up to the bell. So what we're going to do is after the bell, we'll preview, we'll get more math examples just so you're clear on how they want you to round it. Yeah, go ahead and take your break. And then I have to think about how I want you to do. We'll do a small.
Are we
the last one, 1.7%.
It's a negative number, it's not a point. That's why I hesitated for a second, so I was thinking, wait.
Yeah, there'll be a large negative number. Zero worth less.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Those aren't negative numbers, the negative exponent.
Oh yeah, that would be wrong. This is
Yeah?
for B.
Uh-huh.
That's literally
It's
what I
wrong.
just asked.
Yeah.
No, this is not a negative number, so you don't reverse them. This is 0.017. This is 0.018. They're not negative. The exponent is negative, but the number itself is not negative. The negative exponent is telling us basically to divide by that number of tens.
No, not that one.
For this side, 6, 40, 4,
That way we punch.
1 plus 5 equals 6, and for this side,
Alright guys, I have the permission slip for the 24th thing, so I have to change a couple things on it. I'll do that while you guys are working on Get One Math.
Sure.
Print it out, give it to you so you have it.
I don't have it over.
This is my one blue thing.
Why? Wait, what? You don't know? Look. Center number. All that on like bottoms in the center.
I got 10.
Do we have any Get One Math?
Yeah, but only like 4.
Wait, yeah, I really need to do a whole bunch.
I'm so.
Don't worry. When I was in sophomore, when I was in third.
I just go back to the dugouts. One dot harder than that.
Guys, you do have some paper homework as well, but you'll have time to get it done in class. I'm gonna cut it right now. So
Did you put the Get One Math on?
I'm working on it. It's taking forever to load. As it always does. When I load it at home, it comes up instantly. When I load it here, it can take up to 500 words. 24.
I know, this one is.
Backing out.
57 words.
I'm gonna look.
Hey, what's it?
I'll show you.
Not what's it for? Change anything, let me know.
Alright guys, on the homework, I can't just say all odd or all even because I want you to get a variety of problems. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, I'll wait till you get them. Hurry up, pass them back. Devin, pass them back. Sky, did you pass them? Good. Alright. Alright, does everyone have one?
Yeah, we have to do the guided problem solving.
I'm going to tell you what I'll, no, you don't have to do the back. So on the front, I would like you to do number 1, number 2, number 4, number 6, number 12, and number 9. And then 10 through 13. Those are pretty easy. They're just telling which one is bigger. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
bottom?
No, don't
Wait,
do
wait.
the bottom. Okay, I'll say that again. Number 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12, and 13. All 4 of
So no
those.
14.
None at the bottom. Nope, none at the bottom, no back. Okay, so that's going to be really short. And then hopefully we get my mouth is ready to roll and I can start this.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Read.
I'm not coming.
Okay, happy Father's Day. Read. You had a batting average of 360. You had 6 hits, 8 hits, and then you had 3 RBIs. Your total players is 26. Doesn't matter, that means I have a lower chance of getting it. The lower number is 3. If you get 2 players,
I just had Elsa and it's in a row. I'm gonna get, I'll show you where other things are.
Did it go on?
Yep.
I'll show you where other things go.
There's no internet, am I surprised? Round to 4 significant distance.
4, okay.
So why can't we use a calculator on this?
Because you need to know how to do it without a calculator. You have to have an understanding of it without punching things in. If you're doing it on the calculator, you're not really understanding how it works.
Later on, since
Oh yeah, later on. When you have applications of this, it will mostly be in science classes, and you absolutely will use calculators. Yeah. Okay, this is a nice easy one. I'm glad I got this one. I hope you guys are this lucky. Okay, so we're going to round, it says to 4 significant digits. That means other than leading and trailing zeros, there needs to be 4 actual numbers. You can count a 0 in between as a significant digit. So we're doing 4 divided by 6. That's pretty easy to do. So 6 goes into 4 0 times. We have to add a decimal. 6 goes into 46 times. Oh gosh, I really got lucky because this is a repeating decimal. So it's just going to be 6, 6, and then I'm going to round my last. I am going to do my problem. Look up here a sec. I'm going to do it to 5 digits so that I can then round because I need to know which way to round this. So the answer that I get will be 1, 2, 3, I have 4 digits there, times 10. I have to do -3 minus -4. What's that? -3 minus -4 is 1. Now I have to move this over 1. So I have 6.667. I made this number bigger, so I'm going to make this smaller, so I have times 10 to the 0 power. And I think that you can, I don't think so. I'll try it and see. I think you can just put the 6.667. Nope, it wants me to do it in scientific notation, so I do have to do times. It's not going to let me do that either. Let's see here. Times, no, it's, there we go, times 10 to the 0 power. No, it's not valid. What did I do? Oh, I see that. I didn't mean enter, I meant backspace. 6.667, okay. Whew! There we go.
how many points should we have?
What did I say on there? Does anybody have the assignment pulled up? 4. You have to get 4. That's it.
So
Just 4 points
39.
today. Yeah. Whatever we were at, add 4. Yes.
If you divide a number and it doesn't, like I divided this by this and it only goes for add
No, you don't need to add any numbers. If that's, you get it exactly as it is.
Okay.
I think. Violet, let me know if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure. What do you get? Okay, so we get 1 point.
So I can just use black script. Zeros are significant.
Thank you for only giving us 4.
Well, it's Friday. I don't want you to have that. Maybe you're 0? I don't think so. What's negative 7? What is 7?
So like, after the test, if we have anything to do with scientific notation, we can.
We won't do anything more scientific. But like when you do it you won't use it in algebra. You'll use it in science.
Especially our old gym.
How is this not valid?
I told you the story, right, about how I didn't know what she recognized. I would send you. Guys, I'm gonna run up and get the permission slips off your desk.
So no more
Yeah, good. I've been trying to 15 minutes going to different.
Let's all switch seats.
Yeah, let's all switch seats and see what I notices. Okay, well, hurry up, you should go down to the classroom.
Here, go to my seat.
Go to our seat.
More people with you.
Yeah, more people need to know.
I ain't
It's
really
okay,
my
she won't notice.
She won't notice. She
Somebody She wouldn't even notice she was sitting in her chair.
Okay, you two under your chair. Elena, watch the wall.
I go to Miss George. Hey, should I go? No,
I can't breathe. Dude, there's actually that paper. And then there's just a dirty. Here. Yeah. But she didn't like it, but I was like, I don't like it. Here she is, here she is.
0, 9, 5.
Nope. Okay, so.
That guy died.
I'm done.
Didn't even get over the Mendoza
Hey, girl. What do you do? There's a,
Reed, he had 2 hits.
Devin killed him now.
He scored 6 runs.
Yeah, he is. Oh.
More enthusiasm.
hey guys, do your mothers or fathers a favor and just fill this out for them, and then just hand it to them and say, here, sign it.
That's what I do for pretty much
It
every
doesn't
permission
have a,
slip.
like a place to put our name on.
Doesn't it really?
What is this?
Okay, right?
Also, tell them do
Does it
not
really
cut
have
this,
that?
guys, because this is bad.
You're right. There's no place for your name.
We'll just put it at the top, because look, if you cut this right here, then it cut off the number for your position.
Reed, we gotta look at this.
And you know what? It also says with the teachers as indicated. You know what? You know what? Maybe I should change this. Hang on.
We should not cut it off either, because if we cut it off, then it cut off the part that said QA. Wait, so should we still do this?
Good shot. Are you recording with Kayla?
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting.